So, I thought I'd say something about creation myths and maybe our lack of. Because every culture has a story or several stories about how the world came to be. They might even conflict. We had one central one, which was the biblical one, the Old Testament. And that seems to have toppled over. It's been toppling over for a long time. And creation myths, they tell us who we are. They help us orient. They belong, if you like, at the centre of the medicine wheel. I think quite a lot of stuff belongs at the centre of the medicine wheel. But the medicine wheel is a place, it helps us orient ourselves. It helps us know who we are and where we come from and where we need to go. That's why it has directions on it, because they're pointers. And they're interwoven with the elements. And a creation myth tells us who we are, where the universe came from, where life came from, those sorts of things. So we know where we stand. It's like a central pillar. And as I say, we don't really have one these days. It's perhaps unique in the history of humanity that we don't have a creation myth. We have a creation fact, which is different. Yeah? Because where we think the universe came from is the Big Bang. And then life, well, we don't know where life, and then our creation myth for life itself is the primordial soup and a random event caused by a bolt of lightning, which began life, and then evolution made life unfold. So those are our creation stories, but there isn't magic. There isn't the miraculous in them. Yeah? And we need that. Now, Terence McKenna made a very good point about the Big Bang. He said, everything suddenly coming out of nothing, if that isn't a miracle, I don't know what is. So that's a good take on the scientific story, because it is a story. No one was there to photograph it. It's a model. All science is modellings. It's not the thing itself. The thing itself is always beyond words and equations. They can only point. And it's very important we understand this, because otherwise science is what really happens, and everything else is like a primitive story that early people had, a fancy story. And it's not like that. Science is story also. And it's convincing in some ways, but lacking in others. It doesn't talk to the need for magical miracle in us, which is an objective need. It's part of our psyche. That part of the psyche needs to be satisfied. I'm not quite sure how to use this thing. Anyway, I better keep going. The cat is threatening to disrupt me. Hang on a tick. Okay, I'm back. I don't know how to use the pause button in this. And what will happen, the cat knows when I don't want to be disturbed, and he starts prowling around me and I can't concentrate. So I thought I'd better block the cat flap so he can't come in and do that. So, creation myths. The Christian one has been falling apart for a long time. Matthew Arnold, the poet, wrote about it in Dover Beach in the mid-1800s. He talked about the long melancholy withdrawing roar of the sea of faith, which once engirdled the earth. Because that creation story, it's grounded not in scientific evidence, it's grounded in faith and the eye of faith. And it is non-rational. It's not irrational. Someone just WhatsApp me. Let's carry on. Irrational is when you're not susceptible to reason. Someone's just WhatsApping me about a holiday romance that they're having. And I'm trying to concentrate on talking about creation myths. What's this about? I'll carry on. Okay. So where does this leave us shamanically? What is at the root? Where is that central pillar, the centre of the wheel? Yeah? through which we orient ourselves. We need some sense of where we came from. It doesn't need to be a complex story. And it can be good to have more than one that contradict each other so that we don't get fundamentalist about it. But a simple story can simply be that we belong to the natural world and it takes care of us. That is a story. It's a very simple one that can be built on. But that, shamanically, is where we need to start, because that's what we've forgotten. My theory is that's why Christianity toppled. It's got some powerful myths, some powerful stories, some powerful teachings, but it fell over. And I think it fell over because it didn't have a proper foundation. Its roots didn't go deep enough because it put itself above the natural world. Not all Christians would, but a lot of them do. You know, we're here to steward it, but also that means being superior to it and even using it. So, and treating it as dead. And the Chippewa Cree, they view humans as the newborn ones because we're the only animal that doesn't know who it is. Other animals, they know how to live, we don't. So they don't put themselves above the animals. And I think that's very good pragmatically not to do that. Of course, we can do things that they can't do and all the rest of it. But we also get puffed up. A lot of the Chippewa Cree stories have a trickster figure who's always coming unstuck because he puffs himself up and gets deluded about who he is. That's human nature. And thinking we're above nature is a trickster thing. Yeah. And I think that's why that creation myth toppled. And also we got fundamentalist about it, which eventually I think we rebel against. So we have this story. Maybe if you learnt the core shamanism, which I learnt 28 years ago, they have the three worlds in it, don't they? There's a creation myth for you. It doesn't tell you how the world started, but it sort of describes its structure, what the world's made of, what the universe is made of, and you can put the Yggdrasil on that, which is the Norse world tree. And I think what matters is that the stories speak to our imagination. That's what matters, rather than... And in that sense, we believe in them. We have to believe in them. We have to think they're true. Otherwise, they're not for real and they won't act as a proper pillar in our life. But thinking they're true doesn't mean that they're literally true. It means they're imaginatively true, which in a way is even more true. It's not less true, it's more true. If it speaks to your imagination, which is what I was talking about, needing magic and miracle. So we need stories that speak to our imagination, that we believe to be true. The world's tree. Yeah, that speaks to my imagination. Something in me sings to that. It's like, yeah, that's true. That's real. And in a way, it's more real than the Big Bang. So there's two stories. The medicine wheel itself is also a story, a creation myth. It says this is what the universe is made of. The medicine wheel is a microcosm of the macrocosm. The medicine wheel is the universe. The sweat lodge is the universe. This is how symbols work for indigenous people. They actually are that thing because they carry the power of that thing. That's why in the Catholic communion, the wafer and the wine actually are the body and blood of Christ. They understand in symbolism like that. That's why it's a powerful ceremony. That's why a lot of people still go to church. They may not believe the tenets, but the ceremony speaks to them. So that's something on creation myth and the way it serves as a pillar of faith, a descriptive pillar of faith at the centre of our lives. And it doesn't have to be literally true. Yeah? It just needs to speak to us because faith is so important. We've lost all conception of what faith used to be. Look at those churches that they would build in small villages, the amount of resources it took for a small village. That's how central and all-encompassing faith was for them. Everything came out of that faith. That, in other words, that connection to spirit, that spirit is everywhere. It's deep and it's powerful and it takes care of us. And we feel it just running through us. And Christianity had that, except they'd separated out the natural world and put it somewhere up there. And then you lose something. Whereas shamanism is a return to that spirit, the natural world being inspirited or ensouled. And we're part of that. My computer's still going at me. Now it wants a password. I will keep going. I will keep talking about creation myths. Maybe I've said all I need to say, but look up some creation myths. Find the ones that speak to you. You never know which ones are going to speak to you. I found one from a Native American one the other day. I thought, yeah, that's really good. And part of it was that a hawk was flying over the earth, and the beating of his wings moved the earth because the earth was still made of mud, and that's how the hills came about. And I thought, yeah, I really like that. It was either that or the beating of his wings flattened the hills. I can't remember which way round it is. I have to go back to it. But I just thought, oh, this one speaks to me, whereas that one over there from Greenland didn't. So that's how you do it. You find the ones that actually, I like that story. Yeah? So go for it. Make that part of how you feel the universe came about, and how therefore meaning comes out of those magical, miraculous stories. And just as a tail ender, we don't know how life came about. Because we say it came from the primordial soup, but the more we understand about even microscopic life, the more complex we see it is. And the probability of that arising by chance mathematically just recedes, into, you'd need about 1 trillion universe lifetimes to get that level of complexity of chemicals arising spontaneously. So we don't know how life came about. And the Big Bang, we don't know how that came about either. Suddenly everything came from nothing. We just sort of stopped there. So actually, we don't know. And there can be an honesty in that as well. Because really, we don't know. Yeah? And it's good to stay close to that mystery. Because if we can stay close to that mystery, that prepares us for death. Because death, we don't know either. But we trust it. We trust what comes next. Yeah? So there's a double act to do here. Yeah? Have some stories that really appeal to your imagination. Yeah? That really do it for you. That you love. That you tell other people, look, this is how the universe began. And you just tell them the story. Yeah? But you also know, actually, we don't know. It's just this mystery. Yeah? We've got no idea. And live close to that mystery. Because when you're close to that mystery, you are actually also close to the centre of the wheel as well. Well, the centre of the medicine wheel, it is the creation myths and the creation stories, but it's also the great mystery. And humanity, of course, is part of our trickster thing, is we want to know. And that desire for knowledge is a wonderful thing. It's a deep thing. But the more we know, the more we realise we just don't know. I'll leave it there.